So we wanted to do a video of my reviewing House of the Dragon, the prequel to Game of Thrones, and I watched 5 episodes of it, and I kept coming into the studio, and they would say to me, the producers would say to me, "Have you finished House of the Dragon?" I would say, no, I'll get to it. And then I thought, why should I get to it? I don't like it. It's not any good. It's boring as hell, and I really don't want to. The reason I haven't watched more of it is because I'm not interested. So I'm instead going to review why I wouldn't finish House of the Dragon after loving Game of Thrones. And I think the best way to approach this is to speak first about what it was about Game of Thrones that at its peak, obviously it trailed off at the end, they kind of blew the ending, but at its peak, I seriously was more excited to find out who was going to win the Iron Throne than who was going to become president of the United States. I was so wrapped up in the show that it had become almost real to me. And that really is what a work of art can do when it's really cooking, and it was cooking. And what was it about the show that was so great? I mean, the sex stuff, what they call the sex position, where whenever somebody was explaining the complex family ties, there were always 2 women banging each other in the background. This is an HBO trick. They use it for the first 2 seasons and then they stop doing it because they want to lure people in. That didn't mean much to me, except it was fun to watch. But that was not what it was that drew me in. It was the incredible characters, the fact that the author, George R.R. Martin, was willing to kill them off, so you never really knew what was going to happen. The cynical and down-to-earth philosophy of the piece, which was that power is everything, basically. Power is what people fight for and what people die over, and if you don't fight and play the power game, you get killed. And, that may or may not be the case, but that was the world of the work of art, and that was one of the reasons I thought the women characters were so interesting. A lot of people complained, for instance, there were a lot of rapes, and I thought, well, yeah, if there are no guns, you're going to get raped. I mean, that's how power works. And so I thought that they were beaten into political correctness. They were beaten into having women warriors and things like that, which I just thought was garbage. But I thought for a long period, you were actually watching a fantasy that was more real than some of the reality shows. The other thing about it is the stakes were genuinely brilliantly depicted. Khaleesi rises up. She's nobody. She's a piece of human flesh that they're trading around. But through her luck and pluck, she makes her way and becomes more and more powerful, more and more dominant as a character. The arc of the character is she starts to care about the slave. She starts to care about the little guy because she was a little guy, because she was abused. And so you want her to become the liberator of these people. You don't care that she happens to be the powerful person. You just care that she becomes the liberator of the nation. But at the same time, as she accrues power, she starts to be separated from that little person that she was. And that's a fascinating arc of character. And it was the whole story of the piece. And the women were fairly well depicted. When they had a warrior woman, she was big and ugly, and it was and ungainly. And she felt bad about that. She missed her femininity, but she still wanted to be a warrior. And that was a real character that you could identify with, instead of these women who are, 5'4" little nothings, but they can duel with everybody else that I complain about all the time, only because it breaks the rules. It breaks the rules of reality, and it breaks the rules of most of the stories they're telling. Now, many of you know me as the Lord of the Multiverse, so you would expect me to get a lot more respect than I do. The reason I don't is because I just don't go around bragging about being a lord, but you should. That's what you should do. I should go around, and the way you do that is you go to Established Titles. Established Titles is your opportunity to earn the title of Lord or Lady and get the respect you deserve. All you need is a 1 square foot plot of land in Scotland. Established Titles is a project based on a historic Scottish custom where landowners are referred to as lairds or lords and ladies in English. In your title pack, you'll be bestowed with at least 1 square foot of dedicated land on a private estate in Edelston, Scotland, plus an official certificate with a crest. I have one. Your certificate features a unique plot number with which you can see the exact location of your land. Titles packs from Established Titles are a fun and unique gift for any occasion, and there are even couple packs that come with adjoining plots of land for the special someone in your life. With your certificate, you could officially add the prefix of Lord or Lady to your credit cards, plane tickets, and even your dating profiles. And get this, Established Titles told me that the first 200 people purchasing a title pack using my exclusive link will receive a plot within a few walking minutes of mine. Established Titles is actually running a massive sale right now. Plus, if you use the code Klavan, you get an additional 10% off. Go to establishedtitles.com/Klavan to get your gifts now and help support the channel You can't be Lord of the Multiverse, but you can be Lord of a plot of ground in Scotland if you know how to spell Klavan. And by the way, it's Klavan. House of the Dragon, it looked beautiful. When it opened up, I thought, this is going to be great. The first episode I loved, and most of what I loved about it was visual. I just thought I would so much rather look at this than a Jackson Pollock painting. I would so much rather look at this than go to any museum that shows artwork after the 19th century. I mean, this is beautiful. This is the imagination come to life. This is technology being used to create the visual imagination and enhance the visual imagination. And it was great, and I loved that. Then, however, the story had no stakes whatsoever.
Where's the steak?
All it was women complaining. It was women complaining from the beginning to the end. There were no men of interest. The only really great male character was this weakling king. There were a couple of mildly interesting subordinate characters, but it was women complaining. One, that they couldn't be king. Why can't I be king? It's like, because you're a woman. That's not fair. That was the whole thing. And they didn't have any reason. And secondly, it was like endless scenes of women in labor complaining about it. And it was interesting because they showed you that giving birth was a kind of power. And they showed you how, for instance, the queen was worried when the woman who had been designated the heir to the throne would have a baby. And they had the scene where right after having a baby, she's summoned to bring the baby to the queen. She has to get out of her labor bed and bring the baby to the queen. And here's a little clip of that.
A boy, I've just heard.
Yes.
Hold on. Where are you going?
She wants to see him.
Now? I'm coming with you.
I should hope so.
Let me take him.
I shall get no such satisfaction from you.
Just take my arm at the least. Was it terribly painful?
Oh, God.
I took a lance through the shoulder once.
My deepest sympathies.
I'm glad I'm not a woman. What is it? What is it? What is it?
Walk. Walk.
What could she possibly want? I thought we were past this.
As much as I respect what women go through in creating the human race, it's not inherently oppressive that that's who you are. It's just life. It is just life. And so the way that women were depicted was kind of like it was somehow a cheat that they had to go into labor. The men, by the way, in the story treat them quite nicely. They say, what a wonderful thing you've done. You've been heroic going through this labor. But the women are just constantly dissatisfied and they're constantly whining, and we're supposed to care. The scenes that cracked me up the most were these scenes of the queen who is stuck producing babies, and she's got the baby on the knee and the baby's crying. And the queen is rolling her eyes, I have to put up with this baby. And I thought, you got to be kidding me. She's the queen. She doesn't have to do anything. Most queens, the maid brings the baby in every now and again. Oh, darling, hi, it's good to see you. Mama loves you. Take them away. Now he's starting to cry. That's the way that really works, So the queen is a powerful figure, not an unpowerful figure. And yes, the king is more powerful, and that's the way life was in those days. And so the constant complaining about it, there was no reason to care who had the throne because there was nothing at stake. So none of it mattered. It didn't matter. And so after a while, the visuals got boring. After a while, the characters got boring. And finally, I just have to say this. One thing that really bugs me about I love long form television. I love watching a show that can, splay out like a novel and all that. But people keep saying to me, you've got to get to the 6th episode. If you don't grab me in the first episode, my question is this. If I have to go through 5 boring hours to get to the 6th interesting hour, on my deathbed, are you going to give me those 5 hours back that I wasted getting to your lousy 6th episode because you don't know how to tell a story? No, I'm done. House of the Dragon is over. It sucked. I'm not watching anything for 6 episodes to get to the good part. It really did not understand what was great and what was beautiful about the original, which was that the stakes were high, the characters were real, the situations were real, and it mattered. And it mattered a lot because you were just really wrapped into it. This doesn't matter at all. Man, that was great. And if you want more great content, like and subscribe to the Andrew Klavan Podcast.